We're coming in hot with inspiring guests, witty banter, and colorful commentary for today's veterans and military community. This is the Tango Alpha Lima podcast.
They call me crazy cause I'm facing all my giants. They try to scare me into thinking I can fight it. They tell me I should never even think of trying. But that's just me, I'm gonna live out in defiance.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and all alphas out there, welcome back to the Tango Alpha Lima experience. Who's that right there?
Who dat? Oh,
What's
that's
your
me.
name? What's your name?
Hi, I'm Ashley. I'm Ashley Gorbolja.
You missed Marie.
Oh, I'm
You
so
know-
sorry.
you bet-
Hi, I'm Ashley Marie Gorbolja, co-host of the Tango Alpha Lima podcast, here with the lovely, the only, the one and only again.
Super
Jeff
producer
Daly.
Holly.
We're here.
It's funny how you don't really do the Marie thing, but on social media, you push your first and last name together. You're Ash Marie.
It's strategically done that way. I've always honestly wondered what my name would be like if it was just Ashley Marie was my first name.
You can do it. You've grown. You've grown. It's 2022.
I can change my name to whatever I want, right?
On the internet in 5 minutes. It's official, legal. You got a new license, you got a social security card, you got the whole thing. Got your library card and your frequent shopping grocery store card, all changed in 5 minutes. The official stuff. All right,
Probably
so
anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks, and you have to go to your clerk of courts.
nothing like a
Observation.
nerd, nothing like a nerd to stomp on a joke
Sorry.
and think they're and actually think they're being helpful. That's amazing.
I am helpful and I am amazing. Those two things are correct regardless of however you put them. It hurt my feelings.
You'd have to have those. So
That's
this
true.
week is it's an important week. It's the week of 9/11. I assume our show notes are going to go back to the 9/11 series, the award-winning 9/11 series, the 20 years, 20 episodes of. She's miming. She wants me to
Three-time.
brag about how many. But if I say three, people go, "Why didn't you have four?" So the multiple award-winning 9/11 series, that was it 20 episodes for 20 years on the 20th anniversary. It's a very powerful series. I think I'm gonna
I
just
can't
put
believe it's
this
been a
up.
year. Can we just talk about that? Where has time gone? It's been a year.
Time went 12 pages on a calendar, paper calendar. You may never have seen one of those before, but they
I have a
actually-
paper calendar on my desk, like literally within arm's reach. I get joked and mocked for my paper calendar.
Aw, can we see it?
It's actually under my computer.
So,
Can't pull it out. It's not
Wait,
accessible at the moment.
so you hid it because you didn't want to be mocked.
No, I'm telling you the truth. I have it. It's just
All right.
covered in computers.
Ashley,
Yeah.
I'm not going to make fun of you for that because this is a very special episode, one which is a phrase that CV would hate, but it is a story that CV would love. Unlike other shows out there, you are lucky because you participate in the Tango Alpha Lima experience. We tell you stories of intrigue, of ridiculousness,
Oh, it's ridiculous.
much like other shows. But we also will, from time to time, update you to let you know where are they now. Ashley,
Oh
do we
boy.
have an update?
Oh boy. Oh boy. I'm so excited. All right. So update for you. So hot off the press, right? So Navy nuclear engineer and his wife withdrew their guilty pleas Tuesday in the case involving an alleged plot to sell secrets about American nuclear powered warships after a federal judge rejected plea agreements that had called for specific sentencing guidelines. Jonathan and Diana Tobe of Annapolis, Maryland, pleaded guilty in February in a federal court in Martinsburg, West Virginia, to one count each of conspiracy to communicate restricted data. The sentencing range agreed to by the lawyers that Jonathan Tobe had called for the potential punishment between roughly 12 years to 17 years in prison. Prosecutors said Tuesday of such that the sentence would be one of the most significant imposed modern times under the Atomic Energy Act of 1954. Prosecutors also sought 3 years for his wife, Diana Tobe. So the U.S. District Judge Gina Grobe said that while she generally honors plea agreements, in this case, she said the sentencing options were strikingly deficient considering the seriousness of the charges. Grobe said the act to which the couple pleaded guilty was done for selfish and greedy reasons, but could have caused great harm to the Navy and others. So just some background.
Wait, I'm feeling hungry.
So the background on
I'm giving you a joke.
Oh, leaning in. Got it. You know what? I'm peanut butter and jelly of your jokes. So legitimately, I do say that in real life, folks. So that happens. But in this case, we discussed this a while ago when Mr. Mark Seavey was with us on the show, and he was obsessed with this story, which I'm very excited to ping him and tell him to give a listen for the verdict. Now, this couple supposedly was like hiding information like the SD cards and like almost discarded peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, like just kind of leaving them on a park bench. I'm shocked a squirrel, a chipmunk, a critter didn't just hop up, grab that in that transaction. But this is how they were doing it. And then, quite frankly, Jeff, I think you said it well and eloquently off air, but, they should have just had a Subway sandwich. They could have got some endorsement or something. Just got them. Anyway, so this is
the nuclear sub.
The nuclear sub. Espionage. Ooh.
The espionage sauce.
Oh gosh, now we're getting weird. All right. I have so many jokes that not everyone will appreciate. Anyway, so here we are. A year later, year plus, right? Everything happened in like February. Like we're just cranking it out. We're just, wow. Not shocked. Have things changed? Are we surprised that this is going to be one of the largest, most imposed modern time Atomic Energy Act enforcements for espionage?
And since it's been since 1954, that's a long time for people to screw up. But I will say, they still could get an endorsement. They have revolutionized a culinary classic. They put together a sandwich and chips. There, I said it.
Oh my, that was so good. I love that. I am such a nerd for enjoying that so much. They could strike up a deal with their Smuckers, Subway,
Smuckers and Lays.
Oh my
Ruffles
gosh.
And other people who should be paying us money right now.
They should be.
Yeah. All right. So those two, not that smart. You know who is smart? Dr.
Me?
David Rudd. Today we'll be joined by Dr. David Rudd. David Rudd served 5 years during the Gulf War as a psychologist for the 2nd Armored Division. Do they put up walls? Just wondering. Psychologically and armor? No?
They deconstruct
Didn't land?
Walls.
All right. He is currently a distinguished university professor of psychology, president emeritus, and director of the Rudd Institute for Veteran and Military Suicide Prevention at the University of Memphis. Dr. Rudd is also a life member of the American Legion and spokesperson for the American Legion Be the One campaign. This is why he's not taking my calls. He's a busy man. We're going to be right back, and I'll have him as a captive audience with Dr. Rudd here after the break.
You may be experiencing intense anger, guilt, shame, and anxiety on a daily basis. These things may be getting in the way of your relationships and making it hard for you to enjoy life. To my fellow veterans with PTSD, we can help. Strive R&R is a 2-week treatment program designed to help veterans live the lives that they want to live. Over 75% of veterans who complete the program report significant improvements in their quality of life. You can be the person that you want to be.
If you were stationed at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1987, you and your family may be victims of toxic water poisoning. Cancers, birth defects, deadly illnesses have all been linked to the contaminated water. With passage of the PACT Act, the government is ready to be held accountable. You could be awarded financial compensation for your suffering, but you must act now. Get your free case review. Call True Law at 833-686-4242. That's 833-686-4242, or visit justicecamp.com/TAL.
Hello and welcome back to the Tango Alpha Lima experience. I hope you enjoyed your break because you got some learning to do. Today we have Dr. Rudd here with us as promised. Dr. Rudd, welcome to the Tango Alpha Lima podcast.
Yeah, good to be with you.
It's exciting to have you here. I'm the nice, gracious host, and I'm the nice one with the snacks and the beverages. And Ashley just jumps in with questioning. She starts the interrogation. I'm trying to make her be a little more friendly, but just jump right in, Ashley. Do your thing.
He fails to mention that I was military police, and that if he wants to do good cop, bad cop, he just has to communicate prior to. He's trying to be mom over here with snacks, and I don't see any snacks in front of me, Jeff. Are you going to airlift me snacks from LA? Because I'm going to get hangry. You're going to make me hangry during this interview. Dr. Rudd's not going to appreciate it.
Okay, let's go. You see a snack, me. Boom, go. Question.
Oh, okay. I thought you were a 10-course meal, but we'll go into that later. Dr. Rudd, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Hope you guys are as well.
After that banter, goodness, there's so much to unpack. But what I want to focus on is unpacking some of your.
I was going to say we could spend a little time on the banter if you like, but that's okay.
No, Jeff gets too much of my time. I just need to. Today we're focusing on you, sir. And so, you are a psychologist for the 2nd Armored Division, and you transitioned out of the military. And you've been in clinical research, you're in academia. I'd like to know a little bit about that transition from your time in service during the Gulf War, and then making that leap into higher ed, because you've held a remarkable amount of distinguished, from distinguished professor, university professor of psychology, been president emeritus. You've done a lot of really great stuff. So I want to give listeners a better understanding of you and how you got into academia.
Yeah, so I was a psychologist with the 2nd Armored Division, served about 5 years. So originally was due to serve about 4 years, got stop loss because of the Gulf War, served during the Gulf War and transitioned out. After I had already made some connections with Texas A&M College of Medicine and with Scott and White Medical Center, and just transitioned back into the clinical care. Did that and was a faculty member at the medical school for about 10 years. And then from there transitioned to Baylor University and ran a clinical psychology program and have made a couple of stops along the way. Have been a dean, a provost, and a president. And now stepped away from the president position and will spend the rest of my time as a professional being a professor.
I've been in trouble with every one of those jobs when I was in college. Wow.
I was about to say, Jeff's got some comment here.
I could have followed your career. You could have scolded me all along, all the way through.
This is an animal house. It's not gonna.
So you don't just work for the university. You've also started the Rudd Institute for Veteran Military Suicide Prevention at the University of Memphis. How'd you come up with that name?
Well, when I decided to step away from being the president, the board of regents decided to endow an institute and provide some funds to continue this work in suicide prevention. Specifically looking at the work we've done in treatment of veterans and active military over the course of the last 3 decades. I mean, we've been doing this work pretty consistently since the Gulf War. Actually started our first clinical trial immediately after the Gulf War and have continued that. Have another clinical trial. Actually was on the phone with Fort Carson yesterday. We'll be starting a clinical trial at Fort Carson in September.
This is exciting. So you're not just teaching, you're coming up with the data for the.
Yeah, we're doing the clinical work, and we're doing work that we think makes a difference in the lives of service members and veterans, and really looking at what works. I mean, what makes a difference and what helps improve lives specifically with high-risk individuals. We have targeted very specifically people that have suicidal thoughts and have made suicide attempts, and so we've worked with arguably those in the greatest need. And over the course of time, we've actually demonstrated some pretty good effect. I think treatments and interventions that have really made a difference and helped improve lives.
I think the one title that Ashley didn't read in the list is that you are a life member of the American Legion in Tennessee,
Yes.
which is the volunteer state. Yeah, I knew that. I didn't Google it, just knew it in my noodle.
Are we going to talk about grammar today, Mr. Jeff?
Really? That's you? That's you?
Mhm.
I noodled it.
You
So
noodled.
that leads me to a transition that goes back to Miss Ashley, because I am going to do this. Here's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to just in the flow of the conversation steal her question. I'm going to lead by example and hope that the favor gets returned to me in the future. I'm just pointing at all the alphas out there know what I'm talking about.
Okay. Well, no, if like you have a follow-up question, Jeff, just ask.
No,
I can pivot. I pivot all the time. What's the Marine saying? Adapt, improvise, overcome.
It's improvise, adapt, overcome. Don't speak what you're not of.
Oh, fighting words as seen first here. The Tango Alpha Lima podcast. Jeff Daly getting a little crazy. Dr. Rudd, I promise I will make sure this one stays in line.
Not an easy task, but that's okay.
Right.
Never is. So, question. I have to ask, so of all of the research, and as I was looking at your bio, you've done, I mean, almost $28 million in funded support. You've been in over 250 publications, more than 15,000 citations. I mean, the list goes on. You've been the president of the Texas Psychological Association, president of the American Association of Suicidology, I think I said that correctly, and the chair of the Texas Board of Psychologist Examiners. Of all of these different roles that you've had, I'm curious as to which one has been the standout for you, like the one that was your aha, like as an academician and as a professional, you're like, this is the one that has always stuck out to me and that drives me and motivates me. Or
yeah, I really enjoyed being a full-time clinician. I mean, I really enjoyed doing full-time treatment and working full-time with individuals that were having some challenges and to a large degree missed that. I mean, that's part of why I made the transition that I did, was to get back into healthcare and to do some work that would really provide more contact directly with individuals and really doing the treatment work. That's arguably the part that I've always enjoyed the most. And it's certainly, I think, the most important aspect of the work.
That's perfect. I always love to see where people fall on the scale, because sometimes we end up wearing so many hats, but there's always that one origin story or that one position or that one hat, if you will, that just acts as the glue for everything that we do. And I just wanted to ask out of pure curiosity.
Well, and actually, it's interesting. I mean, I've got I've worked with people now for 30 years, and actually just a couple of weeks ago had someone that I worked with almost 30 years ago reach out and reconnect with me, and just wanted to share their story of how they were doing and how their life had been over the course of the last couple of decades. And interestingly enough, even if you work with people for a brief period of time, it can have lifelong impact and have lifelong meaning, and people reconnect at different points. And that really is rewarding.
I couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. All right, Jeff Daly.
That's me.
That's you.
I don't get to hear my name enough, but it's music to my ears. So, Dr.
Sure it is. I'm sure he says it to himself.
Dr. Rudd, I don't know if you're familiar with the American Legion programs, and particularly Be the One. And so can you talk about the Be the One and why veterans groups like the American Legion are important to help veterans who are struggling with mental health issues, and maybe talk about what we can do to be part of the solution?
Yeah, I think this campaign is really important. And at the heart of the problem, so if you look at a problem like active service member and veteran suicide, always a tragic thing. And the reality is that all of us know somebody whose lives have been touched by this problem. And a campaign like Be the One really targets the issue that's probably most problematic, the most significant barrier, and that's stigma. There is a significant amount of stigma around mental health issues, mental health challenges, psychological challenges that really prevent people from pursuing treatment and getting care. And in the military, that's compounded. If you look at warrior culture, and that's appropriate for training war fighters. It's a culture that revolves around certain ideals and certain values that when somebody has trouble, they feel like they have failed somehow and not met those values, not lived up to those values, and if somehow are less and not what they need to be. And that stigma really is compounded in a military environment. So campaigns like Be the One, the work of the American Legion, really is critical to help people recognize and understand that being human means you're going to have difficulty at different points in life and under different circumstances. 2 decades of war is going to create a lot of psychological challenges and emotional challenges because that's what happens with human beings. Happens with everybody. And these kind of campaigns help spread that word, help normalize the reality of what is simply normal in this country. And that is that people have psychological and emotional challenges routinely as a part of life. And if you get assistance and pursue assistance when it's needed, they don't escalate to the problem to where people take their own lives. And so the campaign is at the heart of that. And it's a really important one. The network of the American Legion is critical to helping spread that word, and particularly in hard to reach areas and rural areas where healthcare is not readily available. There are just enormous number of options with this campaign.
Wow. Holly, I want to take this moment right now and say that I have nothing to add. He said, can we just take I'm glad neither of us coughed or interrupted. That is like the perfect PSA for what Be the One is and should be. Like really, you covered stigma, you covered rural areas, you covered the American Legion Network, you not education.
He's a professional, Jeff. He's a professional.
He's a professor.
He knows what's up.
He's a professional. Education, my friends. Education. There's it's right there. Right there. He's a dean of things. I did want to those were our kind of as directed by super producer Holly questions. I did want to ask another one because this episode airs the same week, I believe, as 9/11. So I'd love for you, with your expertise and experience on the ground after all of that, does the experience, in your opinion, did the experience of 9/11 affect people's performance or service, active service, as well as how they continue to deal with the effects of that service later?
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. And I did wonderful question. Having served, in the military prior to 9/11 and prior to Iraq and Afghanistan, served during the Gulf War, it was a different time and in a different culture in many ways. 9/11 helped people recognize and understand the nature of threat. It made it real for Americans. I think part of the difficulty in the U.S. really are a couple things. One, so few people serve that the service rate in the general population is so small that it's hard for people to understand military culture. It's hard for people to understand the nature of military service and sacrifice. And even though people are almost uniformly now supportive, it's still difficult to understand the nature of the sacrifice. 9/11 brought that home to all of us. I mean, the losing that many lives on American soil and experiencing threat in a real way was remarkably traumatic for this country, and continues to be to some degree. It did change the difference. It made a difference in the nature of service. And so the number of individuals that stepped forward to serve was really remarkable, people that felt an obligation to serve. And that was a dramatic shift. Now, also what happened is that over the course of the last couple of decades, not only did people step forward to serve, but a large percentage of those individuals experienced combat. And didn't just experience combat once, experienced combat multiple times over the course of prolonged periods, unlike any time in American history. So you can go back to World War II, and people have more combat experience and exposure today. And it's very clear what the cost of that is. I mean, the cost and consequences of that are significant, not just in terms of medical and physical cost, but emotional and psychological cost. And that's something that has been unique, and that will ripple for decades. I think a part of the difficulty is that not only as the experience in Iraq and Afghanistan ended, but Afghanistan ended badly and wasn't particularly well managed, and was reasonably traumatic for, I think, a number of people that served. But these problems ripple for decades. These problems will continue for decades, and the challenges will continue for decades. And I think the Legion has stepped forward to take a leading role in trying to meet those challenges, and recognizing that when combat and conflict ends, the problems don't, the challenges don't, and what we need to do in terms of meeting the obligation for our service members don't end.
Wow, is this a different day on the calendar? Because once again,
Well said.
I have nothing to add.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's all of the bullet points all in one thing. Oh, love it.
And just naturally flows. I mean, I don't know. I should be a dean or something. Maybe I can pick this up. Can we have, wait, we have one for Legion College already. I'll start something. I'll do something. Anyway, I appreciate your time, your expertise, your knowledge, and your caring. I mean, none of your education, none of your jobs, none of your experience would matter if you didn't care.
Thanks, Jeff.
The fact that you do care doesn't show up on a resume. No one's writing about it on LinkedIn. But that's probably the best attribute that I'm seeing. I'm a little upset that I just said that in front of you, because what we typically do is talk about you behind your back after you get off the screen. Gosh darn it all, that's a spoiler alert. Jeff Daly, you didn't learn anything from Tiger King. You
Speechless twice, and you got him to do a full
Right.
review for you.
I know, I gave a spoiler alert like a bad Tiger King watcher in the pandemic. So thank you so much for being here. Ashley, got any final Snickers?
Snickers? I'm not that hangry.
No, your chuckles.
I know what you meant. I just want to say thank you to Dr. Rudd and all of the amazing work that you're doing. You make a difference. You make a difference.
Thanks. Well, and thanks to both of you, and thanks for the work you're doing and the service that you provide. It's critical. And having these conversations is a critical part of what's needed for our service members and for veterans. And I'm grateful for what you guys are doing. Thank you.
We appreciate you, sir, which we will talk about again here soon after, the break.
Raising money for your American Legion programs has never been so easy. Terry Lynn Fundraising offers customized fundraising programs, dedicated support, discounts and incentives, and premium products for your members to sell. We're talking delicious nuts, confections, and snack mixes that will keep your supporters coming back for more. You can see how simple and effective Terry Lynn can be to use for your next fundraiser when you request a free tasting sample at terrylynn.com/AL. Check it out and get ready to have the most successful fundraiser yet. Visit terrylynn.com/AL.
All right, thank you for coming back after the break. I know commercials can be really intriguing, and you get caught down that internet rabbit hole looking up the product. We just finished with Dr. Rudd. Any quick takeaway?
Dr. Rudd is SMART, smart, and he is impactful and doing amazing things. And I appreciate him so much in the space that he is occupying.
That's outstanding. I will concur, and I love when our guests do our work for us. He spoke expertly about the American Legion programs. I guess that's why he's a spokesperson. But I mean, he covered everything. Like, I don't know if there's ever been a time where you and I both had nothing to add. But right now we're going to have something to add. You know why? We're going into, this is uncharted territory. We have nothing written down, but we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to hit up the improvised version of pew, 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 rapid fire. All right, as I said, I wrote my rapid fires for this week in another episode. But because this is the week of 9/11, we're going to get to that. But first, I want to tell you a little story. We recently had the Commander's Ball, or not when this airs, but we had the Commander's Ball at Hollywood Post 43, and we gave out an award that I didn't even know existed. It was the Heroism Award for a friend who I can't believe, if you haven't met him, Ashley, you need to. His name's BJ Lang. You all are going to be shocked by this. He's an Air Force veteran when you hear this story. He was walking along Hollywood Boulevard with his friend, heard gunshots. We have those here. And there was, he took cover. He didn't say took cover. He said, I ran into a garage and ducked behind a wall. In the military, BJ, we call that taking cover. And I know you're in the Air Force. So he took cover. It was still a crime scene. First responders hadn't shown up. He and his friend emerged from cover to go administer first aid and CPR on a live crime scene, having no idea if that car was going to turn around and shoot some more or try to get revenge on somebody trying to save their target's life. But he did that, kept the man alive until first responders got there. Unfortunately, the victim didn't live, but he lived under BJ's watch. And so we handed him an Heroism award at the thing. And I'm serious, they were like, people got little dust in their eyes hearing about what he did. What I just told you in 20 seconds, I took about 3 minutes to tell, because I don't know if you know that I can be dramatic. But he is a huge hero, not just from that. He will meet somebody and they will say something and he'll direct them to a service officer. He has he doesn't have time for posts, like a post at the post, a role, but he's so helpful and engaging, and he does stuff with, he's also a 2-time testicular cancer survivor, and he does improv therapy. We're both alumni of Second City. He's clearly done more with it than I have. But did you know about these kind of awards, Ashley? And what do you think of, what's the first thing you're going to say to BJ when you meet him?
Oh man, I'm deciding between a pun, thank you, or a hug.
You could give him a hug.
3. Hi, I don't know you. I'm gonna give you a hug. Hi. But you know Jeff, and I know Jeff. Hug.
Testicular cancer jokes are not off limits. One time for his birthday, he had a roast you could roast him. Oh my God. On this.
This is my kind of man. All right. Okay.
Right? I was like, wow, your wife only has to carry one in her purse now. So
oh no. Oh, BJ. Oh,
I got there late. I didn't get to roast him. I had to tell him that later one-on-one. So that's BJ. Wow. And which reminds me, I think all American Legion posts, I have this idea. It's called the hometown hero kind of a deal. I think all Legionnaires should learn first aid and CPR and AED. All Legionnaires should learn mental health first aid, and all posts should be providing that train, especially supposed to have a physical site, should be providing that training so that these stories become more prevalent. All right, Ashley. Speaking of
Okay.
heroes, we're going to go into this.
We are going to go into some heroes.
The brainchild of Henry Howard, the
Mm.
2020 9/11 series. And since 9/11 is coming up, I'm going to ask you
talk about
this very important question. We did 20 episodes. You did not have time to prepare your answer for this question. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Oh no, I have to answer the question first. This is kind of easy, but
Okay.
it's kind of hard because there's 20.
Would you just spit it out already? You're making me anxious.
Can you tell America what your favorite episode of the 2020 series is?
Easy. Episode 114. It was the episode with prisoner of war, Jessica Lynch. She was a very meaningful interview for me. And I hope folks go back and watch that episode. If you want to see waterworks from me, I think it's the only episode I've ever like broken down on. But her story is super meaningful to me in a time and space as I was understanding the costs of war. And there was this influx of when I was in middle school. It was like maybe one of the first times I really understood the impact, because I was maybe like 4th or 5th grade when 9/11 happened. So like you have a comprehension of it, but then when I was a little bit just a few years older within that time range, that's when Jessica was captured. And I ended up like reading her book, and I ended up writing a little report on her. So I knew about her story very intimately. And I recall like kind of looking at the show notes, and I actually thought there's no way that we're interviewing that Jessica Lynch. And I know that was something we even discussed on that show, but it really took me to a headspace of where I was in like middle school, right? Reporting on this woman. And now 18 years later, I'm talking to her, right? That was so profound to me. It actually makes me really emotional right now.
No, don't do it.
I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it. But see it.
911 114.
911.
You can also search Jessica Lynch's name, I imagine, on well, actually just go
Mhm.
and watch all 20. Let's just leave it at that. So do you have a question for me, Ashley?
Ooh, okay. Right back at you there, broski. What is your favorite episode?
You get an E for originality on the question.
You're
I
welcome.
just asked you that. I would say out of when we talked about doing this, the one that popped out in my head first was Sergeant Major Clifford Lovejoy. He is an Army Sergeant Major who was at the Pentagon at the time of this. And he told the story about how people saved his life. The first time he was running down, he's going to go down this familiar path to get out of the building. A woman bumped into him, sent him down another path. And the path he was going to go on erupted in jet fuel fire, and he would have been dead had this woman not run into him. That was a saving his life story. Actually, and he didn't know who that was. We didn't know if that woman went the other way and didn't survive. So there's a lot of unanswered questions because of chaos. And he did.
I think he referred to it as an angel.
Yeah, we're both reading Holly's. We're reading Holly's notes at the same time. So it's so he did call her an angel. But then the thing that really hit me was when he said he was leaving and he was wandering around, didn't know what to do, and he said, "I work at the Pentagon and we've been attacked. I have to go back to work," right? But he neglected to call his wife and got in big doo-doo with the boss of the house. And that story really stuck out to me because even our heroes can get in trouble. I mean, that doesn't get them out, doesn't give them a free pass from everything.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't he like he had to like navigate away, and he had like walked a significant amount. I can't remember if that was him, but
yeah, and I think he had something with his ID. Like it took effort to get back to work. So you know what we're going to do? We're not going to try to piece it together and get it wrong. We're going to go back and watch episode 911. Whoa, my writing was terrible on this one. 003.
911103. No?
911103.
There we go.
911103, 911114. Those are both there. We are out of time. So Ashley, can you take us up out of here?
Taking it home. All right. Don't forget to subscribe to Tango Alpha Lima podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are consuming your podcasts. Please leave us a review and give us a big old 5-star rating so the world knows how much you love us. If you do have a guest recommendation, go to legion.org/Tango Alpha Lima and click on the suggest a guest link. We'd love to hear from you.
Thanks so much, Alphas. Remember, if you truly consider yourself an Alpha, you need to watch a 20-20-20 series if you haven't already. And even if you have, you should do a refresher course on 114 and was it 103? 114 and 103. The Lynch and Lovejoy, the 2 L's, the L Club. Watch those. And I'm going to go ahead and call this episode 124 mission complete.